Hello, Gold Derby fans. We are just days away from the Primetime Emmys on Monday, September 12th, and we're here to chat about the comedy races, which are some of the toughest to call. We'll be doing three separate slugfests. This one will be all about comedy. We'll have another one with drama categories and a third with limited series, reality, and variety categories. I'm Denton Davidson here with my colleagues Daniel Montgomery and Marcus James Dixon. So let's just get things started off with the big one. Comedy series. Abbott Elementary won a big award over the Creative Arts Weekend last weekend with the Casting Award that has gone to the last 7 winners of this category. Daniel, you and I are still on Ted Lasso. So are we foolish? Start us off.
I mean, we could be foolish. It's the problem with the Creative Arts Emmys is that Abbott Elementary only had the one category, and that was casting, and it won it, and it was a big win. But it's also a new show up against like second or third season shows that already cast most of their ensembles, and so that could be an anomaly where we saw like Stranger Things win casting and not win drama series. We saw When They See Us win casting and not win limited series a couple of years ago. So there are occasional anomalies there. And the trouble is Hacks did well and Barry did well and Only Murders in the Building did well. So, you know, with Ted Lasso on those 20 nominations, including all the nominations it really needed, it's hard for me to pick one alternative to Ted Lasso.
Marcus, what about you?
There is still hope for Ted Lasso. We were just having a group discussion on Slack about how, you know, The Office won Best Comedy Series without winning a single creative art. Modern Family, one of the years that Modern Family won, was that the last year that Modern Family won? It won Best Comedy Series without winning a single creative art. So just because Ted Lasso got shut out doesn't mean it's over and done with. You know, I still think it could win series, although I did switch. If anyone watched our Creative Arts live show on Sunday night, the second night, it was at the very end of the 3-hour marathon. So thank you all for sticking with it if you did. I actually switched from Ted Lasso to Abbott Elementary because of the casting win. You know, I was aware that there was a correlation between casting and series, but you said there were 7 in a row.
I mean, 7 in a row. Yeah,
that's huge.
On the opposite side of that coin, you've got Abbott Elementary, which was not nominated for directing, and the last show to win that was 16 years ago, and that was The Office. So that's another, you know, one against Abbott Elementary. Ted Lasso is still the most nominated. So, I mean, there's still that. This is another interesting statistic I found when I was going through this. For a new series to win Best Comedy Series, Ted Lasso won last year. The last time a new series won back-to-back was almost 40 years ago when the Golden Girls' first season won a year after the Cosby Show's first season. That was the last time it happened. So not for nothing, that doesn't mean a whole lot, but it's one of the reasons I'm still going with Ted Lasso at this point. And there are instances where things have one casting and nothing else. Girls won casting a few years ago, and then Freaks and Geeks did it about 20 years ago. But it's not common, that's for sure.
And another thing about Abbott Elementary, it was kind of a late breaker. Like, I wonder how many of the Emmy voters that voted for the nominations had seen Abbott by that point compared to how many have seen it now for round 2 winners voting. You know, it reminded me of Coda, how Coda only got those 3 Oscar nominations, but then it really broke after that. And, you know, if all those people had seen it while they were voting for the nominations, it would have got in for directing and editing and things like that. I think it's a similar situation we're in with Abbott, where if more people had seen it when they were voting on noms, it probably would have gotten some more Creative Arts Emmys. It probably would have gotten a directing nom. So I'm sticking with Abbott now. There's still a few days left. We are recording this on a Tuesday. The Emmys are on a Monday. So
that could change by then. I honestly could switch over. I'm on the fence. I think what the casting did for Abbott, I think for me, the only thing it really ruled out was I feel like Only Murders won't beat Abbott after that as the other new show. But I think Hacks is right there. I think Ted Lasso is right there. So it's gonna be a fun race. If we move on to Best Actress comedy now, is that in flux, or are we all still pretty confident with Jean Smart? I still have Jean Smart winning. I think she's just so hard to reach. Marcus, how about you?
I think this is one of the locks of the night. There's not a lot this year, but of 100% locks, like take it to the bank locks. I think Jean Smart is that. I do think if there is a shocking upset, it will be Quinta Brunson from Abbott. But I mean, we just saw Hacks win Laurie Metcalf at beating 3 of her co-stars. So there is love from the acting branch for this show.
Yeah. I should mention the other nominees, by the way, are Jean Smart, Quinta Brunson, Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Elle Fanning in The Great, Kaylee Cuoco in The Flight Attendant, and Issa Rae in Insecure. I mean, some of these shows we haven't been talking about at all. So I think this really feels like, at this point, a 2-woman race between Jean Smart and Quinta Brunson, if anyone. Daniel, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think Abbott Elementary has a better shot at winning comedy series than it has winning this one. I really think Jean Smart is very, very far out front. Even though Abbott won at Creative Arts the casting award, as you said, Laurie Metcalf won for Hacks. Hacks had multiple wins at Creative Arts. So I think that if Quinta wins anything, it'll be comedy series and or writing. So I still think Jean Smart is pretty far out front here. If Quinta is in second, it's a fairly distant second, possibly. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. And let's go to comedy actor, which I think is maybe another tight race. We've got Bill Hader and Barry, Jason Sudeikis and Ted Lasso, Steve Martin in Only Murders in the Building, Martin Short, Only Murders in the Building, Donald Glover, Atlanta, and Nicholas Hoult in The Great. I've been toggling back and forth on this one between Bill Hader and Jason Sudeikis at this moment, partly because of the Creative Arts, and I don't know how much weight I should put into that. I have Bill Hader. But I feel like I could be making a mistake by underestimating Ted Lasso. Like, I'm not comfortable with this decision at all. But Bill Hader's role is a little showier in Barry as well. So that's the primary reason I'm going with him. Marcus, who do you have in this race?
I have had Bill Hader since our prediction center opened, but that doesn't mean I'm confident about it. This is a toughie. Bill Hader won for season 1 and for season 2, and now we have season 3 of Barry after a 3-year gap. So did the love for Barry, get smaller over the past 3 years? I mean, it just won 3 Creative Arts, so who knows? It won picture editing, sound editing, stunt coordination. I'm picking Bill Hader right now, but if they call Jason Sudeikis' name, I will not be surprised. In a dream world, I would love if Steve Martin won this for Only Murders, but I think there is a major vote split there with him and Martin Short.
Yeah, Daniel, how about you?
I had Jason Sudeikis all this time, and after Creative Arts, I switched to Bill Hader, which is weird because now I only have, and we'll talk about these later, I only have Ted Lasso winning comedy and supporting actor, which makes me curious. I know we've had like series winners win without winning a whole lot else, but this would be especially weird. But I do have Bill Hader. I think it's a 2-way race. It's a question of, is this like Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones took a year off, Handmaid's Tale won, and then Game of Thrones just picked right back up. So that could be Barry. But we have 2 defending champions because neither has lost for these roles yet, and at least one of them will. I think it's a 2-way race though. But right now I've got Bill Hader. But again, this is one of those races where by this time on Monday, I could have changed my mind.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go to another difficult one to call, the comedy supporting actress. The nominees are Hannah Waddingham for Ted Lasso, Hannah Einbinder for Hacks, Janelle James, Abbott Elementary, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Abbott Elementary, Alex Borstein, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Kate McKinnon, SNL, Juno Temple for Ted Lasso, and Sarah Niles for Ted Lasso. So there's a lot of Ted Lasso going on. I still have Hannah Waddingham out front just because I don't really feel like a vote split's gonna harm her. Although I'm not confident just because of the performances. I think Hannah Einbinder deserves this. I think both women from Abbott Elementary. The problem I have with Abbott Elementary here is that Janelle James seems to be the front runner among the two in our odds. And if I was voting, I would for sure vote for Cheryl Lee Ralph. And that makes me think that there is going to be a problem between those two and a vote split. So I'm going with Hannah Waddingham for now, just because she's so damn likable when she's on the stage. And I think just everyone loves her. But this is one I could absolutely change by Monday to either Hannah Einbinder or either of the nominees from Abbott Elementary. Daniel, where are you on this?
It's a coin flip, but that coin needs to have three sides to it. It's the two Hannahs and Janelle James, I think, are the ones that are duking this out. And I've got Hannah Einbinder to win, just because I feel like having one extra Ted Lasso person in there might, in a close race, which I believe this is. We don't know what the vote totals are going to be ultimately, but at the Gold Derby Awards, this category was the closest between like first place and fourth place was like a handful of votes. So I have a feeling it's going to be comparably close at the Emmys. And all it takes is a little bit to take away from Waddingham. And Einbinder has all the hacks love to herself. It just won guest actress, so we know the actors branch is into it. We know, I mean, Jean Smart won last year, of course, so we know the actors branch is into it. They could pull a Handmaid's Tale and win all three female acting awards. So I feel more confident in this after Creative Arts, although I'm still not certain.
And Einbinder did win the Gold Derby Award, just to clarify. So Marcus, who do you have here?
It's really weird, Denton, when you were saying that if you could vote, you would vote for Cheryl Lee Ralph. If I could vote, I would vote for Cheryl Lee Ralph. So that is making me rethink my prediction, because I do have Janelle James winning. I switched to her during the Creative Arts ceremony after Abbott won casting. I don't have the record in front of me, but I imagine it's pretty rare that something wins casting and then doesn't win any cast awards, any acting awards. So that's why I switched to Janelle. But there is going to be some love for Cheryl. There is going to be some vote splits there. Whereas I don't think Hannah Waddingham will vote split with Juno or Sarah. So I may put Hannah Waddingham back at number one. I agree with Daniel. Hannah Einbinder is in this race. This is a 3 or 4 person race. And I guess the smart money would be on Hannah Waddingham, because they do love repeats in this category specifically. So I may switch back.
This one's hard. Okay. Let's go to comedy supporting actor. We have nominees Brett Goldstein for Ted Lasso, Henry Winkler for Barry, Anthony Kerrigan for Barry, Tyler James Williams for Abbott Elementary, Tony Shalhoub for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Toheeb Jimoh for Ted Lasso, Bowen Yang for Saturday Night Live, and Nick Mohammed for Ted Lasso. Again, a lot of Ted Lasso. I do have Brett Goldstein repeating here. This one I'm not confident in quite at all, but I don't feel like I have a strong alternative for him. I think there's more strong alternatives in the actress, supporting actress race than here. So I'm sticking with Brett Goldstein. How about you, Marcus?
This is a fun race. We have a lot of winners here. Brett Goldstein won last year. Henry Winkler won for Barry. Tony Shalhoub won for Mrs. Maisel. So in these supporting races, we do see a lot of repeats. I'm sticking with Brett Goldstein, kind of just by a plate, he's a placeholder default type thing. I don't see how any of these other guys can overcome him. Brett Goldstein had a huge year. I mean, he's the new Hercules, for God's sake. So I'm sticking with Brett.
And Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Brett Goldstein also. It's almost by default. We have a lot of vote splitting here. A couple of Barry people could vote split. The Ted Lasso people could vote split. But the people who are the show's only nominee in this category, I don't see them capitalizing. I don't see Tony Shalhoub winning again here this year. I don't see Tyler James Williams winning. I thought Bowen Yang had a better shot last year, especially with how much more support SNL had in general last year than it has this year. So yeah, it's sort of Brett Goldstein by default, which, sometimes happens. Just a person just rolls into their next win. And I think this might be one of those cases.
I
If
can't
I could
remember.
vote, if I was a voter, I would vote for Tahib though. He was the star of Ted Lasso season 2.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but when Henry Winkler won before, was Anthony Kerrigan nominated?
I don't think so. I think it was just Winkler, and then I think Kerrigan and Stephen Root came in after.
Okay.
I think.
Yes. Yeah. Winkler won in 2018. He was the only Barry guy.
Okay. And then speaking of Barry, if we move on to comedy directing, the front runner right now is Barry. Then we also have Ted Lasso. The Barry episode is 710 and North, but Ted Lasso is No Weddings and a Funeral. Hacks is There Will Be Blood. Atlanta, New Jazz. Only Murders in the Building. The Boy from 6B. Only Murders in the Building. True Crime. And then Ms. Pat Show, Baby Daddy, Groundhog Day. Barry's out front. That's what I have. I think this is like one of the furthest out front in the comedy contest we have. And I don't know if it's that far out front. I had Ted Lasso actually for a long time. I just partly because I have Ted Lasso winning and I didn't have it winning writing. And I just thought I had to put it in somewhere else. But I'm sort of failing to peer pressure here and going with Barry. Daniel, what about you?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty close four-way race, honestly. I've got Barry out front just because it seems like the showiest nominee. Although Barry hasn't won it before, despite 2 past seasons, 2 past nominations. So I don't think it's that strong a front runner. Hacks won last year, so I have that in second place. But Hacks won, I'm pretty sure, in large part because Ted Lasso vote split. So while it's a strong contender, we don't have a Ted Lasso vote split problem here. So Ted Lasso is a strong contender because we don't know how much support it would have had if that had only one nominee last year. And then another showy nominee, Only Murders in the Building, The Boy from 6B, that is one of those memorable episodes that is doing something very specific stylistically that is bound to get a lot of attention. So I think it's any one of those 4 can win, but I've got Barry sort of just from the support it's gotten so far, and the fact that it's so showy, it's action packed. None of these other episodes aren't really all about the action, certainly. So I'm going there, but this is not a slam dunk by any means.
And Atlanta won the cinematography award at the Creative Arts, which people didn't expect. So, I mean, sometimes winners in these technical categories can come out of left field, especially for directing. We've seen that happen before in other categories. So we never know for sure about the directing. Marcus, what do you have here?
I do have Barry winning, and this was the huge car chase, motorcycle chase scene that everyone was talking about. And I'm looking back to see what beat Barry in directing. Season 1, it lost to the pilot of Mrs. Maisel, which Mrs. Maisel swept that year. It won what, eight awards maybe?
Yeah.
And then in season 2, there were 2 Barrys nominated for directing. So it was possible they vote split, and Fleabag won. So because of those 2 things, that those are not negative to Barry. That's just positive to other shows why those shows beat it. And I don't see anything this year that could take it down. Daniel's right. Hacks probably only won last year because Ted Lasso had 3 entries here. And this year, Ted Lasso only has the 1. So I think if we're watching the ceremony and Ted Lasso wins directing, I think it's probably going to win series. But if Barry wins directing, I don't think necessarily that means Barry is going to win series.
Yeah. And then let's go to comedy writing. The nominees are Abbott Elementary for the pilot, Hacks, The One and Only Murders in the Building, True Crime, Ted Lasso, No Weddings and a Funeral, Barry, 710N, Barry Starting Now, What We Do in the Shadows, The Casino, and What We Do in the Shadows, The Wellness Center. I have Abbott Elementary just because I think, this is a writer's branch. I think they're going to give this show a better shot than maybe it will have for series. And I just feel like if it won casting, it's going to at least win something else. And this is the only other award that I have it winning. And I could be wrong. Honestly, these comedy categories are giving me anxiety now, because as I'm looking at them, I'm like, I could go maybe like 0 or 1 for 7 on these if things just go really bad for me. But right now I have Abbott Elementary, but I'm really tempted to just go back to Hacks. It's a show about writing, and it's the returning champion, and it's not competing with itself. So Marcus, who do you have for this?
The writing branch really loves these mockumentary type shows. Arrested Development won twice, The Office won once, Modern Family won twice, all in writing. Louis won. Because of that, I think Abbott Elementary is a safe bet. Particularly, I'm picking it to win series. So looking back from series, it's probably going to win writing. It's not up for directing, which I don't think hurts it in the writing category. But this could be also where they give it to Quinta Brunson. If she doesn't win actress, if she doesn't win series, I think this will be this is probably her strongest category.
Yeah. Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. It's Quinta's strongest category. I have it in second, Abbott Elementary. I do have Hacks winning. I think it's a case where actually I think Hacks could have won even without a Ted Lasso vote split last year, because it's a show about writers, and we've seen how the Emmys are swayed by that a lot. All those nominations episodes got. That was a show about TV comedy writers. Louis is another show where was playing a variation of himself, who was in show business and the stand-up. So like we see writers go with what they relate to, and I can see them relating to Hacks again. It has no internal competition with another Hacks episode. It has just as much love as it had last year, if not more. So I have Hacks repeating.
All right, well, we're gonna call it for the comedy categories. These ones are crazy. I mean, these people are gonna sink or swim, I think, with comedy this year, and that's not always the case. So this is exciting to everyone watching. Get out there and make your predictions. The Emmy Awards are Monday, September 12th. I believe you have until 4:45 that day to finalize them, but don't wait. Don't forget. Also, if you have already predicted, go in and review them. I've had that thing happen to me where you thought you changed to something and then you didn't.
Oh, I did too.
So make sure you have the predictions that you want, so you can come out in first place and get the bragging rights. But thanks. We'll continue with drama and another slugfest, as well as limited reality and variety.